Sometimes women use fabric to communicate to their husbands, especially when they are in polygynous or polygamous relationship. A lady will go and buy fabric that is called wafamingwa.
It's a protein, shellfish called snail. It have its own way, Anytime the fish, I'll say it's inside the shell. So if you want to take it out, when it comes out, maybe, see the atmosphere, they just pick it out. You see. So they'll say, you've taken me out like a snail.
Which literally means you don't even see my value as a wife. So they wear this to communicate to their husband.
ABC Wax is the only wax print and design company in Manchester, England that has survived from the Industrial Revolution till date. Their designs, motif and vibrancy of colors are unique and exquisite to the West African people and diaspora.
I originally started work with ABC in Manchester in 1975 on the 1st of September, so almost 40 years tomorrow, and it was my first introduction at that time to African wax prints and African textiles in general, and since then I spent a lot of time with ABC and also with some of their distributors. And then in 1993 I went to work for them in Nigeria, and in 2000 I came to work here in Ghana.
I didn't know ABC was even outside Ghana until I came to Manchester, and I got to know that it all started from Manchester some years back, and it got to a time that they decided to send it down to Ghana. So that's how Akosombo Textile Limited came about, and it's a very popular textile company, and I was proud to know that it's from Manchester.
When I originally joined ABC, they had their head office was in Manchester on Sharp Street, just off Rochdale Road, and near to Shude Hill, just so that people who know Manchester will know roughly where it was. But the factory was in fact not in Manchester but in Hyde. But Manchester plays an important part, not only because of where our office was, but also because of its long history of textiles, and particularly cotton. Many of the cotton traders were based in Manchester for many, many years, and because of that, a lot of the textile converters, or if you like traders, trading companies, grew up in Manchester, and it's from those individual trading companies that an association called the Calico Printers Association was formed, and eventually that became Tootle Textiles, and ABC has been an important part of that for many years.
Yeah, when I worked, I think, I forget the time, it's a long time ago, this is 79, for a short period of time. And I think after that, the factory was struggling because we got redundancy as well from that place. And the factory been struggling to continue with the competition of other place, which is in Holland. They bring also the African textile to them. So it was a very, very high competition. They produced the factory at that time in a very, very expensive, but in a very, very good quality. compared to the Holland one, you know. So this is how I mean, at that time even it's not called ABC Wax. It used to be wax factory, print factory in Hyde.
I'm walking to the archive store of the ABC Wax Print here in Heights in Manchester. As you can see, the vast arrays of textile produced over the years from 1900 to the current day. But where we are now is where the archives of this West African wax print have been stored.
ABC Wax are a unique company, providing a rich heritage of Manchester's wax print trade with Akosombo Textiles Limited in Ghana, West Africa. An experienced textile designer at ABC Wax in Hyde, Manchester, will create a design either from an individual inspiration or commissioned work, and upon approval by management and client, the design is sent to Akosombo Textile Limited in Ghana. Creative Hands Foundation are excited to share with you the discoveries so far recorded from the research and documentaries done on Manchester's link to West African wax printed textiles.
What we hope to see in Africa is what is currently lacking in Manchester. The different textile, the bespoke textile machinery that were designed for these prints are no longer here. They've all been shipped to West Africa. So we really want to go and capture and document the journey of the movement of this industry to Ghana, and how they are faring there, and how they have remained in production, and how they've been trying to meet the various demands of the African people by providing this high quality textile print.
In the design room, the designs are printed onto paper to the required sizes and engraved on 2 upper rollers ready to be used for the wax designs printing process.
The beginning of our process, we take the cloth. This is the cloth. After we weaved, when we didn't have time, weaved, and this is the calico weaved already. And we have to pass this one to put them in the condition that we can be able to be printable and absorb the color. So the cloth coming like this, we call it gray buff. You see, it's gray. It has to become white, ready for printing. So for this, to make it able to print and receive the color, we have to do what we call bleaching and moisturizing. The 2 processes. That is why the cloth must go from here through this process we see here.
So, Mr. Where does this fabric comes from now?
This first, the cotton we buy locally or the neighbor country.
Okay.
And then we have a spinning plant and weaving here at it here.
The movement of ABC Wax to Ghana is like the movement of any multinational corporation from Europe or from Western Europe in general or China to Ghana. Okay, they have to maximize their returns. It's not necessarily, to me, it's not necessarily about promoting a culture, because culture is not frozen in time and space. So we cannot say that Manchester is moving to Ghana because they love Ghana so much. They want to promote African heritage in Ghana. It's all about maximizing their returns as good business people. So when they buy shares in Akosombo Textiles, okay, the key objective is for them to maximize their returns because they have over the years created a ready market over here, okay, with textiles, and we have also appropriated the textiles. So that market is there for them. So that is the key thing which would bring Manchester to Ghana.
In 2006, we took the decision to transfer the production of ABC wax from Manchester in England to Ghana, mainly because of cost consideration, and also to be closer to the market, because all of the goods that were produced at ABC were being exported to West Africa, to Ghana and to Nigeria and some of the other countries on the west coast.
Creative Hands are really enriching our curriculum in the school, giving it a better depth, allowing the children to explore history through art and other mediums. So really enriching the experiences that the children are having and different ways of learning.
I've been working with Michelle and Joseph and the Creative Hands project to try to develop our understanding of the fabric collections that we have at the museum. We've got a couple of collections. The largest one comes from a company called Patterson Zakonis, and the smaller collections come from ABC Wax, which is a company that Creative Hands are working with on this project.
I'm from the Netherlands, and I found out, I think looking back it was sort of an advertising campaign, that originally they were brought to Africa by a Dutch company and they're still produced by a Dutch company. And I don't know, just had so many questions about how and why and how can they look so African but be made by a Dutch company, and yeah, I'm just really interested in how that works and in a way also what it means.
I'm Jennifer Harris, and I'm Deputy Director here at the Whitworth, but I've also been a Curator of Textiles here for a very long time. I'm particularly interested in the kind of global nature of textiles, the way that they get traded around the world. So if you take the African wax print, for example, wonderful example of a kind of cross-cultural textile, because what we think of as an African wax print now actually originated in the East Indies, in Java, in Indonesia.
I'm Frances Pritchard, Curator of Textiles at the Whitworth, where I've worked for over 20 years, so I'm very familiar with the wide-ranging collection of textiles we have. A lot of our prints that were produced in Manchester for the overseas market, particularly West Africa, and these were given to us by the Calico Printers Association, which was a conglomerate of firms that were put together initially in the late 19th century. And so lots of firms are represented amongst this assemblage of textiles.
My name's Amy George, and I'm Curator of Textiles and Wallpaper at the Whitworth. I've been here for 5 years in this role now and worked on a number of exhibitions and with the collection. Both with textiles from West Africa and also with a number of different artists from West Africa.
The Javanese batik really is the kind of origin of the African wax print. And people often ask, well, how did something from the other side of the world find its way to West Africa? We're not sure. It was probably traded by Dutch traders. They had colonies in the East Indies. They also travelled to West Africa. But equally, West Africans were fighting in colonial wars in the East Indies and could well have brought those textiles themselves back to West African countries.
I'm going to talk a bit today about Nigerian Adire cloth, particularly from Yoruba in Nigeria, because it's not just African wax batik that was made in Manchester to show a particular technique and exported to West Africa. So stenciled Adire cloth, which is dyed in indigo, which is made in Nigeria, such as the quilt that we've got, which was worked by Nike Olanyi, but had a panel in the centre made by her great-grandmother, which we have in the collection, were copied in Manchester and printed and then, like I say, exported and sold in Nigeria and West Africa more generally.
Nowadays, there are firms out in West Africa producing for their own market. Things are no longer exported from Manchester.
All the designs have names to them, but now there are a lot of these designs that are being produced without names, but people cherish the ones with names because they were the ones that were produced back in the olden days.
This is a classic design. We call it classic because it's an old design. One tree cannot form a forest because it cannot stand the weather. So definitely it will break. If you stand alone, you definitely fall off. But when you stand as a group, as a family, you are always strong, you are always united, and you always go places, doing great things for yourselves and your nation. So don't stand alone, always stand together. The heart is for a caring association. And because heart speaks volume, as soon as you see them wearing this fabric, you know it's from a caring group.
A sea creature, and you know we are close to the riverine. So this one represents our culture, our cultural background. You see this is a sea animal, something like a shell, shell-like animal. So when you see this one on us, you know that we are close to nature.
Images and patterns on Ankara, including the color, can create and show social relationships. In social gatherings, meanings are linked with traditional values. For example, the umbrella motif is associated with marriages. Umbrella is a symbol of protection and security. In my dialect, the umbrella is called Odome, which literally means word for word, my husband. At wedding ceremonies, families of both the bride and the groom, married or not, young or old, will wear the umbrella motif to the wedding to say their family members marry. On the wedding day, meaning of umbrella worn by families is both a social and ritual. At such ceremonies, you wear them to express congratulations to who is marrying. Today, wearing umbrella motif can be used to send different messages. So personal experiences can add to the meaning. Living in England has another leg to this relationship, I am told by my participants. I attended a wedding and they had this motif with bells ringing and they call it church motif. When I asked the celebrant why she chose the pattern, she replied, "My wedding bells are ringing better than the umbrella." Another woman said, "It's insulting to have me wear an umbrella because my husband is not my head." And someone else chipped in to say, Well, I found that being a divorced person, umbrella motif doesn't suit me. But thinking about it again, if you look at that motif very well, you will see, look at it yourself, you can see that the cloth has love hearts and bells, which suits perfectly for a wedding. And I bet it has opened new markets for the bell pattern, and so customers create minis in this way. I can wear this bell motif to a wedding. It is really about love, and the bells ringing to celebrate love. This is how some pattern meanings change in diaspora, they say. But this meaning has function, it's functional, and it's the purpose for which the cloth is used, the particular relevance of the occasion.
I'm aware that some of the designs and the motifs, especially the earlier ones, came from Indonesia. I am aware that some companies in Haarlem, in the Netherlands, as well as the Manchester group of companies, borrowed some motifs from Java. And the Javanese batik, the designs of those were copied by Manchester in the early days and then targeted at the West African market.
There are designs on the fabric, and the design tells us a bit more about what the fabric is and what can be used for. And this particular design is, it portrays like a castle where the kings and the queens live. And it shows like the flag, which shows like a symbol of authority. So that is pretty much, that's what it portrays. And this is the aquafona, that is, it's normally held by kings and queens.
I am informed that Adinkra symbols started during the wars of slavery, and groups of people, different language groups, fighting each other, that the Asante fought with other groups like the Bono and so many other groups. And then there was one king or a leader of one of the language groups called Adinkra who was defeated, and his name was Adinkra, and the particular fabric he was wearing before he was defeated became known as Adinkra.
Names given to the fabrics was a symbol of communicating with one another, because in the olden days, obviously, there were not all these technology that we have today. So it's something that we wear everywhere. They used to wear it everywhere. Even when you are carrying your baby, they use it to cover the baby and all that. So it was a form of expressing or relaying information to one another. So if I want to talk to my rival, I would wear something that will give her the information I want to tell her. Or if I want to talk to my husband, the cloth I'll have on will communicate something to my husband.
My job during that time was mainly focused on developing the brand, building the brand, and also ensuring that the distribution was in place. For the distribution, what we did, we'd always dealt with the local traders here in Ghana, and we kept that going, and we even built it up, we built their businesses up. But we also, around 2000, began our own distribution in Ghana through a company called CTD. It's basically Char Textiles Distribution.
I try to support the African continent and to go there, and I know a lot of the fabrics it's been manufactured over there now, so I try and go and support them to keep the business going.
ABC Wax Print is number one. It's the best. Quality-wise, it has no co-equal.
Better fabric. The print is luxurious on both sides. If you look at this print and you look at this side, it's just, you see the quality straight away. I've done several sort of collections using ABC fabrics. It's very good quality, the print's fabulous, but moreover the quality of the fabric is brilliant and worth the investments.
Certainly the perception of people who buy wax is that it will last longer than conventional print.
And this kind of cotton that you get from ABC, it's really strong. You cannot rip it as readily as you can do these cheaper, these Chinese kind of fabrics. This is, although it's no longer made in Manchester, but they have still the same high quality of cotton.
Basically, I'm also promoting it here. During the summer, I encourage the ladies to wear it, and they are so happy about it. We flaunt it everywhere we go.